Well, afternoon, Rory. How are you today?
I'm good, Peter. Thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Thank you very much.
Good stuff.
Rory, thank you very much for sharing your time this afternoon. Welcome to the Business Spotlight. Could we start by, if you could tell me a little about yourself and your business, please?
Yes, no problem at all. Thank you for your time as well for having me on today, Peter. Really appreciate it. I guess my journey has been a retail centre journey as such. I've been in the UK and Irish retail scene for almost 30 years now. Started way back when in Belfast in an independent clothing store called the Shirt Centre. So really great place to learn the industry and learn the trade. Um, that company was
Where was
really
that, Rory?
specialised in.
Whereabouts was that, Rory? The shirt centre?
At that point in time, they had a store in Chapel Lane in Belfast and then one at the side of City Hall, but then they had a couple of out of town stores as well. So it's family business. You would call it now retail arbitrage in the textile scene, but Joe McLaren there was leading that with his two boys from a very, very young age. And it was a great company to be a part of. It was a great fast moving company and really enjoyed the years that I spent there. But at the same time, while I was studying, I ended up in various different part-time roles. Spent most of my time in Primark in Belfast, so worked in the bank building store, which is fantastic to see now back open again and thriving in Belfast city centre. Great store, great company to work for, and great culture there as well. And I learned an awful lot. So moved up through the ranks there into supervisor, student supervisor, and then I travelled off to Scotland for a couple of years to study there. So worked for different sports retail companies over there, a company called Sports Connection, which I then helped bring across to Northern Ireland. And we had a few stores at the time. And so while I was studying, I was always in retail at the same time. And then I fell into the book industry in Scotland. And when I came back to Northern Ireland, started working for Waterstones, which at that point in time, they had two branches, one in Royal Avenue. I don't know if you remember it, but it sadly burnt down. And then we amalgamated two stores into one in Fountain Street. So got to spend a quite substantial period of time with them. And through some turbulent years, actually, in the book industry. So it went through that growth period. And then obviously with the growth of Amazon coming, they really tried to go after the physical bookstore space and HMV purchases. So I really got to be part of the Waterstones culture and then HMV culture at the same time. And then when Waterstones was sold and a new leader came in called James Daunt, I became the regional commercial manager for the company. So really looking after how books would be bought, how you could bring additional products into bookstores to keep them alive. And they've really managed to sustain that since I've moved on. I went to Apple retail for a couple of years then. And then about 9, 10 years ago, I accidentally came into the toy industry. So as you can see behind me, toys and board games are now really where I've found my niche. A friend of mine, a guy called Rory O'Connor, who was an entrepreneur and trainer, had developed a product called Rory Story Cubes. And I'd seen it really when it was at entrepreneur prototype stage. A friend of mine and him worked together in the BBC, and John had connected me with Rory way back when I was managing the North Coast Waterstone stores. And he brought it up as a concept product. And as soon as I saw that my name was Rory and his name was Rory and both on the same game together, we had to have it. And it really grew by word of mouth first. And then by coincidence, the product managed to get into one of the Dublin Waterstone stores through a manager I knew, Graham, there. And then it was picked up and put onto the Late Late Show Toy Show. And Rory's growth then just took off like a rocket. So I was so delighted for him that business became what it became. And actually, then a couple of years later, he asked me to come on board as an international key accounts manager for him. So really exciting time in that business. And I learned an awful lot because it was just as Rory had stepped into licensing agreements with Warner Brothers. So we got to manage the launch of Batman Story Cubes and Looney Tunes and Doctor Who and that kind of thing. So really exciting industry. And then about 7 years ago, I started out on my own. I'd worked with lots of different distributors at that point in the industry, lots of publishers. But around the world, there's a lot of toys and games that are manufactured that people just don't know how to get their product into the UK. And it became a bit of an opportunity for me to set up as an agent first and foremost. So just commercially helping products get into retailers, get in front of buyers. And then there became an opportunity when I launched at Toy Fair in London in 2018. John Lewis were the first buyers that came by. which was fantastic for me. And I launched with 6 games, and they selected 5 out of the 6 games. So I had to learn overnight how to become a distributor myself, and set that up. And we had a really successful Christmas that year. So Red Knight Toy Group, which was my distribution business, then grew and got itself into the education sector here. So we became an educational stockist through the Education Authority. And then 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I launched the first retail concept store of the brand, which was Merchants of Fun. So we launched in Belfast, and we got off to a really great start. It was myself and 3 others who were helping out at that point in time. And what we were doing was trying to teach parents how to, first of all, remember how to enjoy themselves again when playing a game with their kids. But also, a lot of people are put off by games if they don't know the rules, or they think that the rules are going to be too complex to understand. So what we tried to do was make it that you could learn the rules within 5 minutes and be playing the game within 5 after that. So the store went really well, but unfortunately then the second COVID lockdown came to Northern Ireland. I don't know if you remember it, but we closed on Christmas Eve. And that closed the store really for about 8-9 months. And it struggled to come back from that because of the physical activity of actually touching the games and the plastics at that point. But I've stayed in the industry and stayed strong. So I also then work now with a brand called Hachette Board Games, Paris-based company, mostly known for book publishing. But 2.5 years ago, they started out on the same distribution journey that I'd been going on in the UK. And Flavien there had asked me to come across on board as their senior sales director. So did that just over 12 months ago now. And that's been an amazing experience as well, because we work with so many French publishers who want to be able to get their products into the UK market. And when I started, there was probably around about 30 titles. Some of the games you can see behind me here are the core range now, and we've just got 200 and growing titles that are coming to the market. My job has really been to connect our products to core retail sector and scene here in the UK. So we're now in Waterstones, and we're in places like specialized geek stores like Forbidden Planet, and growing all the time. So it's a really, really exciting opportunity. But with Red Knight and Merchants of Fun, I still supply the school sector here, and we still work with the libraries as well. So there's lots of different things that we try to do.
And what was it that inspired you to start your own business?
I think it was the challenge of it. I always, in retail, you're always surrounded by people who are in really senior roles. And a lot of people in retail are very motivational when you work with them, and you get to work with them on a one-to-one basis where they're leading teams or they're leading departments, or actually a category at that point in time. But for me, I've always loved toys and games, toys in particular, Peter. And I think what inspired me was just the idea that I would be able to help someone get their product from either concept and idea all the way through to market. And for me, the first time that I saw one of the games that I had then helped get onto shelf was massive. You know, you really can't explain how big of a challenge that can be to actually get a buyer to invest their business into yours, bring the product in, get it onto shelf, and actually what it goes into that of trying to find a logistics partner, trying to find a shipping partner, all of the things that you have to put together to make it happen. But when it does happen, it's a great experience. And when you actually see then either on social media or physically someone purchasing the game or giving you the feedback that they've enjoyed it, it makes it even better. I guess I'm from an entrepreneurial family as well. My dad was a shop owner many years back, so confectionery was always part of the background for my brother and sisters. And my brother runs a successful business here in Belfast as well. So
excellent. And tell me, who would be your ideal customer?
I think my ideal customer is a parent who wants to reconnect with their kids or connect with their kids. You know yourself, in business and in life in general, we all get so busy with the day-to-day tasks of paying the bills and making the house happen and keeping the kids going and keeping them going to school. My ideal customer is somebody who wants to be able to spend that quality time with their kids. And laughter is the best tonic, I've always believed. And when I've seen it happen where parents just let themselves go for half an hour or an hour and their kids feel that time is really well invested in them, that's the person that I love working with the most.
And tell me, what's been the biggest learning that you've had since becoming a business owner?
Oh, it's massive. You never stop learning, in my opinion, on this journey. I've learned so much about relationships. keeping really good relationships, even when things are tough, even when there's challenges out there. One of the biggest positives I've always taken away from this journey is that if you keep good relations with people, you know, they'll keep coming back to support you in the way that the best way they can. And if you can support someone back mutually, that's going to be the biggest benefit to you. But as I say, you never stop learning, whether it's learning how you can move a product around the world, learning how to find a factory to actually put together the components of a game. There's so much out there that you just have to constantly get your head around. But also one of the biggest takeaways that I've ever had in the whole journey is lift your head out of the trench and actually ask for help when you don't know how.
Great advice. And who's the first person that springs to mind when you think about success?
I always go back to, I'm a big football fan, and I'm a big Sir Alex Ferguson fan, but I don't want to be too cliche about it. But actually, he is my kind of typical model for success and how you can shape it from your own destiny. There's been so many people along the way that I've looked at and thought that really is how success is measured. But I guess sport for me, and sport and leadership and business go together. And I've always been inspired by Mickey Hart. I don't know if you're familiar with him, the Tyrone GAA manager.
Oh, yeah.
And Mickey's journey is incredible. And the fact that then he actually got to work with Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United for a while because of his ability and his leadership. For me, he's always been somebody I can go back to. His book is probably, for me, one of the most underrated business books you can read. Presence is the only thing. So if you haven't read it, definitely get your hands on a copy of it. It's an incredible book, and it's one that I regularly go back to, actually.
Excellent. Great recommendation. Thank you. And what inspires you? What gives you the most inspiration today?
Happy customers, if I'm honest. And I know that probably sounds, is that your retailers or is that your suppliers? It's both, actually. And for me, if both are happy, then I'm doing my job in the middle, right? Either as an agent or as a distributor or as a commercial consultant to help somebody understand how their product works. Happy customers for me means that the business is doing the right thing at the right times. So if the suppliers are happy on their side, what they're going to do is produce the next great thing. I've always said that I'm not the person in the background that helps design the product, because I wouldn't have that creativity about me. But where I can be creative is helping people get their product to the market. So if I think about when I was working with Revit 3D from Montreal in Canada, being able to take their Harry Potter products, which were three-dimensional puzzles, and get that launched into the toy kingdom at Harrods, that was for me the absolute ultimate, because Harrods were happy on their side. They had an amazing new Harry Potter display, but also the supplier on their side were really happy that they were getting into somewhere. And for me, if you're that middleman, your job is to make sure that everyone's happy, but also make sure that you're feeling content in your role yourself, you know.
And what if it were possible and you could give advice to your 18-year-old self? What would that sound like?
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about this one a lot at the moment, because my oldest son, I have two boys, and my oldest son is just about to turn 20 and will soon be off to take on a new engineering course in the Merchant Navy, or the Royal Fleet Auxiliary. And he decided, I'm actually taking a lot of motivation away from him, Peter, if I'm honest, because he decided a year and a half ago that the academic route wasn't for him, that he got rejected because of his eyesight by the Royal Navy, but he passed with flying colours the tests for the Fleet Auxiliary, and he's going to go and do that dream job that he's always wanted since he became a sea cadet. And if I look back to my 18-year-old self, I probably always had one thought on the academic route being the right route for me, when actually it probably wasn't, because I've ended up always coming back to sales and retail. No matter what I've done academically, I've done my degree, I've spent the years doing the PhD, and that wasn't the journey that I wanted to go on, or that I needed to go on. My journey as an 18-year-old, if I could go back then, I would say stick to what you're really good at, stick to what your passions are, and let that shape itself. You know, I think even now with kids, today's obviously A-level results day here in Northern Ireland, and so many kids think that they have to concentrate on that academic route. They don't. The entrepreneurial route, whether it's for them or working with an entrepreneur or a business, can be just as rewarding, if not more so. And the world really now, with the advent of phones and technology, the world's their oyster. It really is. So my 15-year-old son, he's just about to go to second year of his GCSEs. And again, I just want to encourage him that way to say, whatever it is you want to do, we'll help you make it happen.
Yeah, so true. And as the parent of a boy or a man, technically he's a man now. He doesn't
Man, yes, that's
he
the
got
hardest
his
thing.
A-level results this morning. Completely agree. The academic route is right for some, but not for all.
Absolutely. If it's the right thing and you need that qualification behind you, more part of their elbows. But these kids are coming out now and they're brilliant at what they do, whether it's YouTubing or product creation. There's just so much potential and creativity here in Northern Ireland, apart from the UK overall and Ireland. I just think our kids can flourish, So if I had someone say that to me at 18, I think it would have put me on a different journey.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And tell me, we're well into the second half of 2023. Let's fast forward 5 years. So what does the Merchants of Fun look like in 5 years' time, 2028?
I think it's something I'm really reflecting on at the moment. So we started a new concept to try it out this year, which is a first live event. A lot of live gaming events happen in the UK or in mainland Europe, and a lot of our gaming fans here in the north have to travel. So they either have to travel to Leeds or Birmingham or places like Essen in Germany. And there really hasn't been a live event for gaming in Northern Ireland. So this year, a friend who works in events management and I got together and we've launched a first category called GameCon. And GameCon was a live event where we put it out there, planned it together within about 6 weeks. And for the first inaugural launch event, we had 200 people turned up and played games with us for 2 full days. We launched a number of games there. We had a lot of events that went on. And for me, I also want to be able to combine the educational work that we do there. So taking live events into schools is probably where the next 3 to 5 years will help the business grow into. So using a lot of the games that you see behind me here from our product range at Hachette, as well as other games that are out there, being able to engage with kids at a really early age to show them not just that board games are great fun and games and playtime are great fun as well, but also if they can utilize technology in a positive way. They don't always just have to be using it for the stuff out there that maybe fills their heads with some of the more negative connotations. So the next 3 to 5 years for me, where it'll feel successful is if we can bring a lot of fans with us on that journey and just start to have a new concept that Belfast can really enjoy.
And when is your next? Do you have a date for the next live event?
The next live event, we don't have the exact date yet, but it will be April next year. What we do at the moment is we have a once a month event on the last Wednesday of every month where we come together at Harlequins Rugby Stadium there. We have a board games night, Game Connected. And what that does is we want to keep everybody connected to the GameCon event that happens once a year so that there's no drop off where the things aren't happening. So we launch a new game there. As I say, once a month. After us, which is behind me here, is the next game that we'll be doing. I'm very, very excited about that one. That we launched that game actually at UK Games Expo a couple of months ago. And it's the first time in 10 years doing this that I've actually seen a game sold out within 6 minutes. And there was very little word of mouth, no advertising behind that. It was just, there was a spark had shot off on social media and the demand has been huge for it. So we want to bring that to Belfast now and have that same energy and enthusiasm around it.
Excellent. And if somebody likes what they've heard, Rory, and wants to potentially reach out, get in touch, what would be the best way to go about that?
So the quickest way will probably be through the social media channels. If they just type in Merchants of Fun, you'll find us. We're on all the Google searches. We're on Instagram, Facebook. So you'll reach Amanda, who's my social media manager. She looks after all of those pages and she'll be able to put you in contact with us. You can also drop my email in if you want here. So rorykellyagent@gmail.com is the quickest one to get me on. But I'm always available. I'm based here at Twin Spires Business Centre in Belfast and the coffee is always on. So anybody who has a product out there that wants to be able to have a chat, I'm more than happy to start giving some advice.
Fantastic. Well, Rory Kelly from Merchants of Fun, thank you very much for your
Peter,
time.
thanks for having me.
Your journey and your story, and I wish you and your business all the success in the future. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Peter.